Guys, welcome to the Dr. G Show. So it looks like we're on episode 192, and we spent the last month, we spent a couple weeks where we talked about anxiety and depression, and so we had two episodes on anxiety, why we have it, things that we can do to stop having it. Then we talked about depression, and we even had Scott Spradlin on here, which got really good advice from him. And I love his perspective and his depth and breadth of the knowledge for like mindfulness and the stuff that we do here at the clinic. So um, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is, of course you should feel sick. Of course you should be chronically sick, right? I put out a little meme today, which I liked, and we'll talk more about this, but top 10 reasons why you're chronically managing chronic conditions instead of fixing them. You eat things that are derived from petroleum and banned in other countries. You drink things that are derived from petroleum and banned in other countries. You use products that are derived from petroleum and banned in other countries, so like lotions and cosmetics and stuff. You use things to distract how bad you feel from the choices you made above, right? Things we eat and drink and breathe, rub on our skin. And then we use food to cope. So, of course, we've talked about this many times, and we'll talk about it more again. But most people are just food drug addicts. Life sucks, so I'm just going to dope up with food, so that way it's legal, right? So, bread and dairy is morphine, and the morphine that's in there is 20 times more addicting than morphine as a street drug. Oddly enough, meat has morphine in there, and then also soy, which I just found out not too long ago. So, and then of course sugar is more addictive than crack cocaine, but it's way more acceptable to be a sugar addict than a crack addict. Um, Also, you believe that genetics is the cause of all your problems rather than choices. Only 1% of disease is genetic. If things happen in your family, it's typically because if you do what they do, you'll get what they got, right? So if I'm the family that doesn't put oil in our cars, we're the family that gets engine lockup. And then when I have a kid, I'll be like, well, don't put oil in your car like your dad does, and then you're probably gonna have locked up engine. It's genetic. It's just the way it is, right? So actually, 99% of all the chronic disease are things that we can control, right? So then we take on additional stress that isn't yours, causing you to be exhausted. So that's things like not my circus, not my monkeys, coulda, shoulda, woulda, those things that we talk about with patients all the time. And then you base your happiness on other people and situations. So, we do a lot of mindfulness practices for resiliency and neuroplasticity, like wiring yourself. So the average American has 90,000 thoughts, 60% of those, 60,000 thoughts a day. 90% are negative, right? So we wire ourselves to be just constantly anxious and depressed because of that. And then we base our happiness on, well, it's these people causing me to have all these problems. Or if I could just change job, or if I could just change schools, if I could just be in a different state, suddenly I could be happier. But you can just be happier now, right? And then you use medications to prevent the feelings of the effects of these choices. So we always say you want to create a lifestyle that's consistent with life longevity without gimmicks and nonsense. That's the whole base of functional lifestyle medicine practice, right? That's what I've been doing for years. Although most people are living a lifestyle that's incompatible with life longevity, and they don't like the side effects, so they take medications. Now, is the problem still going on? Yeah. Fire alarm hurts my ears when the basement's on fire, so I took the batteries out. Whew, now my ears feel bitter. Fire's still going on. And then you should feel that way. You should be chronically sick because you live in a country that is the most toxic country there is for this kind of stuff. We're the most anxious, the most depressed in the world. We're some of the sickest, fattest, dumbest populations on this planet, right? We don't have to be, but that's where we're at. And so when we talk about this stuff, we don't want to think about it like, why am I sick? Why am I overweight? Why am I anxious and depressed? But when you start to understand what we talk about, you should be. You really should be, right? I put water in my gas because it's cheaper to buy watered down gas. Now my engine knocks. So it's not why does my engine knock? It's of course my engine knocks. That's exactly what should happen. So when you think about something like gum used to be gum, I use this example a lot. It's really good. Today, the color from your gum is from coal tar, which is petroleum. The flavor is from coal tar, which is petroleum. The preservative is paint thinner. Literally, paint thinner. Butyl, hydro, toluene. Toluene is paint thinner. And the three sugars are created from formaldehyde. How long can you chew that before you suffer consequences? And then when you look at all the other things that you eat, drink, breathe, rub on your skin, and what you wear, how much of that can you tolerate before you have leukemia, lymphoma, autoimmune disease, right? Well, in a population with 3 out of 4 chronically managed chronic conditions, not very long. So we're getting sicker younger and younger and younger now. So we cause this, which also means we can uncause this. So we're going to talk about some really interesting concepts today, and we're going to continue this on probably maybe 5 weeks, going through all this stuff the way I like to go through it. So I want to start off with this. Now, I bought this book years ago at a estate sale, Graded Lessons in Physiology and Hygiene, and I remember actually reading it to a patient, and she said, "Are there initials in the front?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "That was my grandfather's book. I bought it from their estate sale." So how funny. But in this book is from 1907. 1907. So this is from the McPherson School District just down the road here. This was used to teach children, to tell them about the adulterations of food. So, in the chapter, Adulterations of Food, and look, I wrote in this book, oh my gosh, people like Holly Hajaj would be super pissed off. Old book, I'm all writing in it. But let's just, I have a king-size bed, the whole underneath of my bed is books. There's very few books I've actually read through. I just like little snippets of them. But there's a handful of books that I've read cover to cover, and then there's ones that I wrote all over, right? Twinkie Deconstructed, The 100-Year Lie. There's fantastic books like that just blew my mind because I came from the medical standpoint over to this kind of functional medicine, lifestyle medicine aspect. So, all right, so I'm going to read this to you guys. I'm from Texas, 45th in education, so I can barely read, just so you know. Okay. Adulteration of food. Many of our foods are sometimes spoiled by persons who manufacture or sell them, putting into them cheaper substances that are dangerous to our health. 1907, right? Such persons seem to care very little for the purity of food, but are chiefly interested in making the most money possible out of them. Right? I mean, I could read this at a seminar today, and people would be amazed. Like, oh, are you serious? So, the most adulterated foods are sugars, candy, syrup, milk, butter, chocolate, coffee, flour, baking soda, bread, and jellies. Pretty much staples. Sugar and syrup and candy are sometimes made from corn through a particular process by which the starches of the corn are changed into glucose, and a kind of sugar not so sweet or healthful as sugar made from sugar cane or sugar beets. And so what are they talking about here? So this is high fructose corn syrup, right? We're going to talk about this because we're going to focus on drinks today. High fructose corn syrup now causes what's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It used to take a hardcore alcoholic 35 years to damage their liver so much that would be a fatty liver. Now, we can also cause what's called non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, or NASH. Again, without all alcohol, we can then take and sorry, I don't know what Taylor's saying. Hi Diva, hi Taylor. Baking soda. What are you talking about? So that's because of alum. I see what you're saying now. Figuring it. So now I lost my train of thought. So so at Harvard, I took their lifestyle medicine program, and we talked about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. But by what used to take an alcoholic 35 years of hardcore alcoholism, we can do in 10 years with food ingredients. 10 years. 10 years. So now we see all these patients with fatty liver disease, but they haven't had hepatitis. They haven't had alcoholism. They hadn't had hep C. And it was a big mystery. And then when I took that coursework, Harvard explained it very well. We're just causing this problem, right? Okay, Christina says, can you please share the post of the title of this book? Yeah. So it's graded lessons. I actually bought an extra copy. Graded lessons in physiology and hygiene, and it's by Cohen. So that's looks like a Mennonite name or German name. So I can't remember. I probably bought it for like $5 or something. I don't know how many copies there are. So in 1907, they were warning children not to eat that. Then some candies are colored with poisonous matters. Oh my God! Tar. So we'll talk about that today as we talk about drinks too. Coal tar in the 1800s we used to cause 100% cancer levels in animals so we could figure out what's causing cancer and cure cancer. We used coal tar to cause cancer, 100% levels. Now we use it in our food and drinks and plastics and clothes and perfumes and everything. Everything's, right? So you'll hear this come up a lot. Coal tar, coal tar, coal tar, right? In 1907, we were saying don't do it. In 2021, we're like, hey, it's profitable, right? When I was lecturing in Chicago, our FDA was voting to whether we were going to start labeling food to let them know those artificial colors from coal tar decreased brain neurite growth, making people dumber. And our FDA voted, no. People aren't going to buy food if it has a warning label. But in Europe, if that color gets in there, which is usually banned, they just have a warning label in there. So then you know, hey, that's why my kid has ADD or dyslexia or learning disorders. Because it specifically warns you that it causes that. In America, oh, it's a mystery. It's probably genetics. So, artificial colors. Butter is often made entirely from lard, tallow, and cottonseed oil, to which poisonous colors are added to make it look like pure yellow buttercream made of rich cream. And that's, of course, margarine and oleum margarine. Butter. Bread is often adulterated with ammonia for the purposes of making the loaf lighter and whiter. Racism. Not only is ammonia injurious, right? It's a toxin to our body, which actually because they feed cows corn, it disrupts the bacterial growth in the cow and causes a dysbiosis of E. coli 01757H7, and then that kills children every year, to which we said, well, we'll just wash all the meat with ammonia, which is poisonous. So that's our solution. We always hit the bullseye on the wrong targets. Can we do these things? Sure. Should we? Probably not. Well, we shouldn't. All right. So adding ammonia to bread. Baking powder, so this is for you, Taylor. Baking powder is often impure, adulterated with the addition of alum. My grandma just had a container of alum when I was a kid. Did y'all's grandma have those? Alum is injurious to your health. And then, I like this one. On this account, much jelly is sold at low prices, are made from brittle glue-like substances called gelatin, which is ground up animal carcass. And unhealthy colors are added, which is coal tar. to make them look like pure jellies made from home with currants, strawberries, grapes, and other real fruit. So, of course, most of the jelly that you get is not really jelly. It's artificial. And that instead of using pectin, the fiber from food, they're using gelatin. And gelatin, like gummy bears and all those things, it's just ground up animal carcass. So all the stuff you don't eat, they grind it all up, and then that's what makes Jello. Which, if it's organic, or not organic, if it's grass-fed, grass-finished, wild-caught, free-range, maybe not so bad. But gelatin, just for those people that take gelatin for health, comes from vitamin C. Vitamin C, which makes collagen, it comes from fruits and vegetables and greens. That's where the animal got it from, right? We eat cow collagen. Where the cow get its collagen from? Grass. It eats grass. So, salad. Then this is my favorite part. Hey, Kelly. Or Dr. K. Dr. K. Krista. Deb. So, this is my favorite part. Page 41. Not only do we have artificial eggs, artificial butter, adulterated wheat flour, but we have buckwheat adulterated with wheat middlings, cider vinegar distilled from grains, lemon extracts made without lemon, vanilla made without vanilla, and we buy Vermont maple syrup that has never been within 1,000 miles of trees. Nearly all the cheap strained honey is made without the single effort of a bee. Artificial smoke is made out of poisonous drugs, which is coal tar, for the purpose of quickly curing hams and bacon, which again, when we talk about like what we eat, the World Health Organization says your American processed meat is now more likely to cause cancer than smoking cigarettes. It's better to smoke cigarettes than to eat ham. So, the other day, I posted a little picture of me at the bar, smoking a little cigarette, drinking with my friends, and then nobody gave me crap. But I was hoping somebody gave me crap, because they're probably at home eating a bunch of processed deli meat, talking about, oh, look at him smoking a cigarette, right? But it's a cigar. I like cigars. Anywho, and then oysters are partially embalmed with chemicals, formaldehyde. So that's crazy. That's crazy. 1907, teaching children this stuff. I could literally go to teach a postdoctoral seminar and quote from this book, and most doctors that don't know what I know would just be like, what? Are you kidding me? That's crazy. So, you guys surprised by that? I think that's interesting. In the 1900s, they were telling people this. There's another good book that I want to go through. I found it when I was doing some research for this talk, but it's 1912 publication, Coal Tar in Food. And so it's just this huge book about all the uses of coal tar to make food. So all the artificial colors, flavors, smells, all that kind of stuff. So, nice. So anyways, when we look at 3 out of 4 people chronically managing chronic conditions, the reality is they cause this. Now there's 2 different ways to live your life. The 100-Year Lie, which is a great book, or The Blue Zones, which is a great book, right? Do you guys know those books at all? Most people kind of know the Blue Zones. But the 100-Year Lie, I had students when I was a professor do these book reports on kind of health and wellness, and one of the students did the book report on the 100-Year Lie, and I was blown away at that book, absolutely blown away, because that book is the first book that says we didn't have this disease, we added this chemical, now we have that disease. We barely had this disease, we had this chemical, now it's an epidemic. It literally shows and documents how we created all these epidemics. So when patients come in for consults, I go through that with them. Almost all diseases except for 3 follow the same pattern. Very few, boom, epidemic, sudden epidemic, and we maintain it because of profitability. So we not only know what we did, we know when we did, and we know why we did this, right? So we know in the 1950s we changed the way we process grain so we can make it more profitable. But then we had a sudden epidemic of IBS, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, right? In the 1960s, we added estrogenic pesticides to foods and then fed them to people. And then we had a sudden epidemic of endometriosis, fibroids, polycystic ovarian, infertility, man boobs, prostate problems, of course, female cancers, right? So, in the that's the other one. 1990s, we added more sugar to food because sugar is more addicting, so we could make more money. And then we saw a sudden epidemic of thyroid problems. So that's crazy. When you know this stuff, and everybody's complaining about being sick, it starts to become, you should be. You should be, right? So, we want to live the blue zone concept, not the 100-year lie. So a lot of the stuff that we do within the clinic for lifestyle medicine is, let's not reinvent the wheel. Don't do gimmicks. Don't do nonsense. Let's just do what already works. Let's do what's worked for generations upon generations. The world's healthiest, happiest, longest living populations are not that way because they use a berry from the jungles that only you sell, or some magical bean, or some seminar, or eating for some specific metabolic or blood type, or none of that stuff. None of it. In fact, food's so simple, I'm going to get off on food here instead of drinks here. Okay, so dumbass animals nature have it figured out, right? An ox that plows a field all day does not have to figure out how to get enough protein from salad. Goats don't have to balance their hormones after kids. Sharks don't have to eat to prevent cancer. Food is so easy that dumbass animals have it figured out. But as Americans, we try to sell gimmicks and complications to people. Because if we can make it sound really complicated, people will buy into this idea that that's why I'm not healthy, right? So I don't want to get sleep, and so I just need to drink coffee, and then coffee's my problem. No, the sleep was your problem. The coffee's just the drug to cope with it, right? That's all we do. Cope, hope, and dope. So, let's talk epidemics real quick, and then we'll start talking about some drinks. So, we cause these epidemics, and if you look at something like cancer rates 100 years ago, 1907, yeah, that's over that. 100 years ago, cancer was 1 in 8,000. Now, we've always known about cancer. We have writings about cancer in papyrus paper in the tombs of the mummies. We know what cancer is. But it was really, really hard to get some cancer. But by 1970, cancer became the top 10 killer of Americans. So it went from rarity to top 10, but it took from Adam and Eve to 1970 in America to accomplish this. Okay? That many years. Then, 30 years later, that's how long it took to go from number 10 to number 2. And by that time, it's 1 out of every 2 Americans is getting and dying from cancer. Then, the World Health Organization says if Americans don't change what we're eating, drinking, breathing, rubbing on our skin, it's going to be 100% cancer rates for anybody born after 2010. And in 2019, COVID kind of overlapped this, but cancer became the number 1 cause of preventable death in America. Number 1. If you think about back in 1985, the World American Cancer Association said if Americans would just eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, just 5, they could prevent or reverse 85 to 100% of cancers, in fact 75% in smokers. The average American now eats 1 fruit or vegetable a day, mostly potato chips and juice, which is none of those going to prevent cancer, right? So we won't do what it takes to prevent cancer, but then we introduce all these chemicals into our foods and drinks that cause cancer. Remember, we use coal tar to cause 100% cancer levels in the lab, and then we stop eating to prevent cancer. So, why do we have cancer? We should. right? It should be 100% of the population, but we now have cancer at younger and younger ages. If you look at something like heart disease, same thing. Heart disease was number one killer up until 2018, and it was this much. We now kill 18 times more people with heart disease than we did 100 years ago. We got really, really good at causing heart disease. So, a sudden epidemic started in 1910 when the average American drank or ate about 10 pounds of sugar added to their diet. Added to their diet every year, right? 1940s, we're at 150 pounds. We'll talk about that in a sec. But heart disease goes all the way up. It dips a little bit in the 90s because we got really good at taking the veins from your legs, sewing them onto your heart as prevention. Don't change what you're doing. Just let's sew some veins on there. So even what was it, Mark Saltzman, who he taught the course I took at Yale for biomedical engineering, which was a great course. Great course. I love his work there, but you know, it's not rocket science. What the hell's going on? We now kill people in their 20s with heart disease. What used to take 50, 60 years to do, we can now do it starting at 10 years old. We see heart disease now. 20s, we're starting to see heart attacks. It's crazy. But the risk is now 1 out of every 2 Americans for heart disease or stroke, heart attack or stroke. And last year, or just now, at a certain age, women are now more likely to have heart attacks than men. Women didn't have heart attacks before men. Women didn't have heart attacks because men went to work, ate horrible food, had lots of stress, smoked cigarettes, had heart attacks and strokes. Women stayed at home, ate real food, and stressed a little bit, and they were fine, right? Food is the cure. Then World War II, everything changed in America. Men went off to war, women went to work in the war factories, and Dr. Kellogg, Dr. Graham created cereal for the first time, so then we had this whole dynamic of what breakfast, lunch, and dinner becomes. But when women went to go work in mass in the work field after the war, they didn't want to go back home because they had their own money and their own freedom, so they kept working, right? And they ate the same crap, had the same stress, and physiology is physiology, so they end up with the same amount of heart attacks as men, but they use birth control, which can increase your risk of heart attack and stroke and cause a 16-year-old to have a heart attack in the prime of life. And then they take hormone replacement therapy, which increases your risk of heart disease up to 87% in the first year. The first year, right? So yes, they're going to have the most heart attacks. Plus, they have to deal with men. So, But y'all starting to control and roll with that stuff. More women in college, more women as doctors now, or in medical school. Y'all doing what you're supposed to be doing. Roll and control this stuff. So, male-dominated medicine is very different than how medicine used to be, right? So then if you look at diabetes, same kind of thing. Did we cause it? Yes, we did. Type 2 diabetes is man-made. We really didn't have it until about the 1940s is where it started showing up on the radar to cause enough problems. And it's sugar diabetes. We went from consuming no added sugar to our diet to eating 150 pounds in 50 different forms. 150 pounds. Just to put this in perspective, in 1910, the average adult man weighed 145 pounds. $1.45. That's how much I weighed when I graduated high school, when I was a man, right? So, that was average. The average adult for a woman in 1910 was, I think, 105, 110 pounds, right? And, we'd be hard-pressed to find adults that size now, right? We have dramatically increased our body mass here. So, in 1940, all that added sugar took its toll, and we created sugar storage disease, which is type 2. Easily reversed, and pretty easy to cause. So, Most of us are consuming sugar in like 50 different forms. Cheetos, one ingredient called sugar, 7 other ingredients become sugar on that label, right? So you don't even know that maltodextrin is sugar plus sugar plus sugar, right? Sucrose, maltose, dextrose, they just call it all kinds of different names. Starch, sugar, right? And if you don't know, without fiber, all carbohydrates are sugar. So Wonder Bread is sugar bound to oxygen, bound to sugar, bound to oxygen, bound to sugar, bound to oxygen. That's Wonder Bread. Without fiber, you just absorb 100% sugar. Whole grain, that fiber absorbs 80% of that sugar, creates something called fructooligosaccharides, feeds your gut bacteria, and makes butyrate, which prevents cancer and reverses DNA mutation at the rate of 10,000 times per cell per day. 100 trillion times 10,000 is, I'm from Texas, I don't know, that's too big of a number. I used to tutor calculus. I can't figure that out in my head, so, alright. So, diabetes went from non-existent to rare to we creating more obese Americans than overweight Americans for the first time. 80% of those will be type 2 diabetic within 3 to 5 years, meaning 1 out of every 2 Americans is type 2 diabetic or will be within 3 to 5 years from something that never existed. And in 2010, we came out with type 3 diabetes, right? Which is brain diabetes, and it mimics Alzheimerism, senility, that kind of stuff. Stuff we do with statins mimics that also, right? But Alzheimer's is a post-mortem diagnosis. You have to cut the brain out and see the neurofibrillary tangles, the amyloid plaquing, which if we forget at some point, we should talk about that when we talk about mercury fillings, because the University of Calgary School of Medicine has shown that that actually causes Alzheimer's in live cell cultures, right? It's the first time we've ever been able to reproduce that in cell cultures by what you absorb from your amalgam fillings or your silver fillings. So that's why I had mine removed years ago. So diabetes now, 1 out of every 2 Americans is either diabetic or will be within 3 to 5 years. Then we have chronic disease. So that's kind of where our big focus is with all this, but all the ones above are chronic disease. That's right. So in 2006, the American diet became the leading cause of preventable death over smoking. It is now better for your school children to smoke cigarettes than to eat school lunches. And if you ever get bored, look up which, I think it's like a little quiz online with like, which country is this school lunch from? And like, oh my god, like kids in every other country are eating real food. Like it's gourmet, like it's great. And then American is like prison food, right? So then they had another little quiz like, is this prison food or school food? It's made by the same company, right? Most of it's Sodexo or something like that, so it's all the same. So our little kids are eating prison food. But the fastest growing population to be medicated are preschoolers, because the belief is if we could just medicate people earlier, we could solve this healthcare crisis in America, rather than doing what the hell these people do in the world or what animals do in nature. Let's just get everybody on meds earlier, right? So that becomes your chronic management. If you go to your typical medical doctor, you got a problem, not a big deal. Just take these pills. How long do I have to take the pills for? Forever. Well, you go to a natural doctor. No, don't take those pills, they'll kill you. Take these supplements. How long do I have to take supplements for? Forever. Come to someone like me who practices functional lifestyle medicine. Stop causing the problems, right? Stop becoming the, of course you should be sick. Of course you should be depressed. Of course you should be anxious. Of course. That's exactly what should happen, right? So, there's only 2 things that prevent people from being chronically sick and dying prematurely. And that's ignorance and complacency. Not knowing or not caring. So, for the not knowing population, this is where this stuff is so vital. Because again, how long can you eat and drink and breathe and rub cancer-causing coal tar before you get cancer in a population where the risk is almost 100% cancer now? So let's talk about some drinks. What do you guys tell me what you want to hear about. I got some ideas here, but I'll go through these, and then you guys post some stuff, and even ingredients and drinks. Let me know, and we'll go through these. So I first want to talk about Gatorade. Now, next time we're going to talk about dairy is the devil, because that's a really good topic. But we're going to run out of time, so we'll continue this. So Gatorade. Now, most people think, oh, I need electrolytes. Oh my God, if I like play basketball for like 10 minutes with my friends outside and like it's hot, I'm getting a little sweaty, right? I need electrolytes or I'm gonna die. So, you know, like we feed our cats and dogs electrolytes. Don't you all do, right? I mean, my chickens are out in the heat all day long. I must give them Gatorade, right? Well, if my kid's out in the sun, I give that kid Gatorade, right? Well, if I do something else, I need some Gatorade. That's a bunch of bullcrap, okay? Just so you know. Electrolytes in nature, so the world's healthiest, happiest populations, animals in the wild, you eat food and drink water. That's how you get your electrolytes. You will get more electrolytes than you ever need if you eat real, actual food. Now, if you eat crap, then you don't get enough electrolytes. Well, that's not a problem. We'll just sell you some Gatorade to get your electrolytes back. But out of all the electrolytes, it's just this many electrolytes. So, let's look at this. So, in general, the colors from Gatorade are from cancer-causing coal tar. The flavors are from cancer-causing coal tar. The plastic bottle is from cancer-causing coal tar. So, cancer, plus some salt and potassium, maybe a little magnesium. That'd be good, right? Maybe redeeming. Let's see. So, you guys probably know the story. Gatorade is to help the Gators, the Florida Gators. So, in the 1965, they were not drinking enough water, not eating enough fruits and vegetables, not having enough electrolytes. So, instead of drinking some maybe a little bit of juice added to a bunch of water, why not make a synthetic version of this? So we created Gatorade. So 12 ounces of the 32 ounces a serving. So that big giant one that people walk around with, that is 3 servings about, right? So they're drinking for 3, wondering why they don't look like 1. And it's funny because when I first started working out, like I was like, okay, I'm going to just do bike for an hour. Like I would cycle for an hour super fast. And then I would, I don't know what else I did. I did something else. Anyways, I burned off, I don't know what it was, 800 calories or something, right? A lot of calories. And then I would go to the front of the gym and they sold Snickers and Gatorade. So I had that deep down body thirst and I had that deep down body hunger. So I would eat a Snickers and drink a Gatorade. I was never losing any weight at all. Like I was making no forward progress. But the amount of calories I got from that one snack was how much I burned doing an hour of intense exercise. So if you drink that or eat that and you don't do the intense exercise, don't worry, it'll put it in your body for later as fat, right? So anyways, drinking for 3, trying to look like 1. Of that, let's see. So there's 14 grams of sugar in those 12 ounces. Well, that's not right. No, that's the old one. Sorry. There's 34 grams of sugar. 34. 4 grams is a teaspoon, right? So if you're at a party or you're in an alley and you want to buy like 4 grams of something, just bring a teaspoon so you know it's no, that's not. Don't worry about that. Taylor knows. She knows what I'm talking about. Now are these comments? Just a minute. Let me check my comments here. Oh shoot! They continue down and it doesn't show it moving. Okay. Ashley says she's eating ham. Yep. Killing me softly. I know. Jacqueline says, I know them, but I don't know who that is. Jacqueline's like the smartest person I know. And of course, Agnes says, what about gluten-free products? Almost all that is just sugar. Just different forms of sugar. And usually worse. And a lot of people, like we do lots of food sensitivity testing, lots of people are allergic to the gluten-free grains too. So that's why they end up feeling a little bit better, but they still have problems. But again, getting gluten-free donuts and waffles, you're not going to get better. You may have no eczema or psoriasis or your Crohn's goes away, but it's not healthy. So maybe better, but not healthy. I think that's a good way to say that. Stephanie, yeah, we're adapting to these chemicals. We're not. 3 out of 4 people are sick, chronically sick, so we're not really adapting to them, but we are getting used to that flavor, that taste, that color. That's why they add those to them, because if you add yellow food coloring to pickles, they look a brighter green, and people are more likely to buy them. Does it decrease your brain growth by 3,000%? Sure. Eventually you'll be dumb enough you won't care, right? And Taylor says, prednisone gave me type 2 diabetes. Don't be blaming prednisone. All right. Yes, Ashley, no judging. No judging here at all. Seriously. So, all right, so back to Gatorade. So 34 grams of sugar, which is 8 teaspoons. So think about that. Like, okay, here, kid, take your Gatorade. I'm going to take artificial color, artificial flavor. Whoa. Dash of electrolytes. Whoa, wait. Let me get those 8 teaspoons of sugar in there. 1, 2, 3. Mama loves you, kid. You know, right? Oh, you guys are going to do great. Man, why are you not feeling good? 8 teaspoons of sugar. 8 teaspoons. And that's if they only drink that one, right? Now, the electrolytes. Well, certainly the diabetes from Gatorade and the autoimmune conditions and the cancer from Gatorade's got to be worth those electrolytes. Sodium is 11%. Half a cup of pudding is more. Vegetable juice is almost twice as much. So carrot juice would be a way better electrolyte than Gatorade. And the potassium is like 75 milligrams. It's nothing. I mean, you'll get that in your food. Don't worry about that. So the amount of sodium you're getting, I mean, you could just take a salt tablet. You could just do vegetable juice. You could just eat fruits and vegetables and drink water, right? Eat an orange. Don't drink Gatorade. Now, interestingly enough, 34 grams of sugar, right? A can of Coke, a 12-ounce can of Coke, I believe it's 12 ounce, has 39 grams. 39 grams. Now, on the street, 39 grams is like $7,000, no, dollars. No, that's, we're talking about sugar. A can of Coke is 39 grams of sugar. 39. So that's 10 teaspoons of sugar for a little can. Now, think about this. One Gatorade, one can of soda, they're both just the same thing, right? But Prevention Magazine years ago said one soda a day, that 40 teaspoons of sugar a day, was made you 80% likely to have type 2 diabetes. One can of soda a day, one Gatorade a day, puts you at an 80% increase of getting diabetes in a country that is 1 out of 2 is diabetic or will be. And again, we're talking type 2. Gina knows what's up. Angel dust. PCP. I get better when I have a co-host, so then I can just like say these kind of things and they get all embarrassed. Now, extra ingredients. It's got water in the Gatorade. There's no way you can get water without the petroleum. Oh, you could just drink water. Okay. Sugar. Now, sugar, right? It's too much sugar, but it's from probably genetically modified sugar beets. So half your sugar in America is from sugar beets. The other half is from cane sugar. Sugar beets are from South Dakota. The cane sugar is from Florida. Who would have guessed that? So that's going to give you your diabetes. It's going to suppress your immune system. 1 teaspoon of sugar suppresses your immune system for 30 minutes. 1 can of soda, 1 Gatorade can suppress your immune system all day. Which again, when we talk about T-cell dysregulation, molecular mimicry, that's the base of all autoimmune disease, let alone chronic symptoms. The dextrose in there is another name for sugar, which is usually from genetically modified corn, and that is just as bad as high fructose corn syrup, which can lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So you got plenty of electrolytes and a big fatty liver, and now you're sick. Citric acid in there, it basically kind of like, makes it tart. The odd thing is the citric acid in food is now made from black mold. Now, theoretically, it's grass. It's generally recognized as safe if you're not getting black mold. But kind of what the hell? Is there no way we can make this a little safer? I don't know. Has a little bit of salt, but again, tiny little bit of salt in there. Sodium citrate, salt, monopotassium phosphate, that teeny amount of potassium that's in there. Gum arabic, which is just gum from the acacia tree, that's actually fine, right? Gellan, those gumming kind of agents, those are fine. Glycerol is from plants. Ester of rosin, that sounds like something from the Bible. Ester of rosin has asked my presence. But it's just a resin kind of stuff from, I think, trees or something. It just helps the oils kind of float in the waters. Natural flavors sounds pretty good, but natural flavors could be MSG, which is decreases your brain neurite growth by 8,000%. It makes you super dumb or super American. And I couldn't figure this. I tried to look this up before this talk, but someone told me the other day, as long as 15% of the flavors from something natural, then you can call it natural flavors. But 85% could be synthetic. Now, what I did read was it can be from all kinds of horrible toxic crap, lots of solvents, paint thinners, benzene, cancer-causing stuff as solvents to get the natural ingredient. So again, it's toxic. Now, yellow 5. So I got the yellow one because I'm a chicken. But the yellow Gatorade, that yellow is derived from coal tar, which causes cancer. So my kid gets a tiny little bit of salt. So much cancer. And that, from a study from 2010, showed that yellow food coloring decreases brain neurite growth by 3,000%. Literally dumbing us down. Now, 1960, Americans were the smartest country in the world, right? Eisenhower is president, number one smartest country. 4 years later, 1964, the American IQ plummeted. It has never recovered, and now we're one of the dumbest countries. Or just 22nd? Come on. It's not bad. Top 10, maybe? No, that's not top 10. Never mind. So anyways, 22nd smartest, right? We used to be 19th, which was below Slovenia, which is a Eastern Bloc country from USSR. So, of course they're smarter than Americans. So that's pretty messed up. But even blue food coloring, so the blue one, that decreases brain neurite growth by 5,000%. I think green was about 8,000% also. These colors, artificial colors that they started adding in the 60s, they literally dumbed down our population. The average American, by the time they're overweight, has 4% smaller brains. By the time they're obese, they have up to 10% smaller brains. We are literally dumbing down, which explains the whole Kruger... sorry, this is my day 2 of my fast. A little slow. Dunning-Kruger effect. Look up the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's amazing. It explains all the crap that's going on all the time in America and why we can't have reasonable conversations that include science. So that yellow food coloring decreases IQ, but it also is going to cause, or so let's say mimic, Alzheimer's. It will also make it way harder to overcome or regenerate brain with things like Alzheimer's from your dental fillings. And of course, yellow food coloring is banned in other countries because they don't want dumb, fat, sick people there. So then let's look at, yeah. Oh yeah. Gina talks about when I talked about food you can light on fire. Kraft singles, they're not cheese, right? You can light those on fire if your lights go out, right? You can use it like a candle. Doritos, I I did this on one of the shows, but Doritos catches on fire, so you can use that as a candle. Cheetos, of course, can light on fire. And let's talk about food. Fasting here. So what about Dr. Pepper, right? I used to be a Dr. Pepper addict. 39 grams of sugar, which we said suppresses your immune system all day long, leading to autoimmune conditions and getting sick more often. That's 10 teaspoons of sugar. But a big gulp, that's just 12 ounces, right? That's kiddie drink, right? I'm a grown man. I need some big gulp. That has 32 teaspoons. 32. Imagine if you had to get your soda and then sit there with a big bowl of sugar at the store and be like, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna be to the car in just a minute, guys. 14, 15, 16, 17. What am I gonna be at? I'm gonna be late for work. 18, 19, 25, 26, 27, 28. Good Lord, my arm's so tired. Right? So, 32 teaspoons of sugar. Why are we the sickest and fattest? We should be, right? Now, the carbonated water in there, it's artificially carbonated, not like Pellegrino water or Aquapana or, what was my favorite? Oh, man, it's from Norway, Voss water. Those are naturally carbonated. Those are fine, right? You need those kind of minerals. But the carbonated one that they use carbon dioxide to create that can actually cause things like osteoporosis. And then, of course, in Dr. Pepper, you have high fructose corn syrup, which causes non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Oh, here, just saying. Elise, I think that's how you say your name. How do you prevent headaches when you're water fasting? Oh, yesterday and today, or no, just this morning. Oh, I had headaches. I got a massage before I started my fast, which I think that really helped. So I went to Angela Vanderbilt, and she did shiatsu massage, where they have those poles and then they walk on your back. Like, that was awesome. So I had that done, and mostly it's just water, meditation, distraction that's going to prevent the headaches. But of course, I still ended up with headaches with water, meditation, and mindfulness. So I just did turmeric and ginger for that. So it's just gonna be okay. Lean into it. It's okay. You're gonna have a headache, but it'll go away very quickly. And by day 3, woo-hoo, the world's awesome. So Jody has a good question. So as we go through this, what does that leave for consumption short of growing everything? And so, years ago when I was a professor, one of my students got fed up and he says, Dr. G, everything causes cancer. I said, no, everything that we know that causes cancer, that's added to your foods and drinks and lotions, causes cancer. Everything else doesn't. So, in this country, we're really polluted. It's really hard. So what we really want is process over perfection. We want to go from this much toxicity to this much toxicity. So Jody, that's the only thing that we have is eat this much nutrition that reverses the damage and cause this much damage. That's how you reverse genetic mutations. That's how we overcome disease. That's how we create healthy and happy in a polluted world, right? Now, not knowing it becomes very difficult, but once you know, oh, it's so hard, When your kids want something and you're just like, oh, I can't do this, right? Like I told my daughter, like, I cannot buy you gum. Find some gum in here that doesn't have any petroleum products, and I will buy it for you. But otherwise, I just can't do it. I love you too much, right? And one day, my daughters, luckily, they're way healthier than I ever was, right? But they still want what they want. And I can't remember. I was telling them they couldn't have something, and my middle daughter was complaining, and the twins were like, Dad loves us. That's why he doesn't let us do these things. And I was like, hell yeah. Like, that's the perspective you want from your kids rather than, I hate you. My friend's family, they let them drink all this stuff and eat all this stuff. Stuff that I said when I was a kid. So, basically reduction, Jody. That's all we can really do. So Natalie says, how do we get our electrolytes? Fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, berry, legumes, greens. All food is electrolytes. All food will have way more than Gatorade will ever have without all the toxic crap in there. So drink water, eat real food. And Gina talks about my fire belly massage. Gina always remembers all the cool stuff. In Thailand, when I was lecturing, they had a tummy ache, and they actually put some type of burnable fuel, and then a bunch of ginger, turmeric, salt, and stuff, and made a poultice, rubbed it on my stomach, and then set it on fire. That was pretty awesome. But it made my tummy feel better. Probably because didn't want to be set on fire anymore. Like they're like, you can see this big flame coming from your stomach, and they're like, "Do you feel better?" Yeah, I feel way better. Please stop starting me on fire. So yeah, Krista, I feel like there's nothing to eat at the grocery store anymore, and it's really changing that kind of perspective. That's a big chunk we do with patients of like really like addressing what can we do, right? And a lot of it is just grazing is your easiest. If you shop on the outside of the store around the edge, it's real food. It's not always healthy, but it's usually real food. But 40,000 items on the center of the store are the same basic ingredients. 85% of that's corn, wheat, soy, and dairy, and a bunch of artificial colors and flavors and all that stuff. I have to contend with that. But used to, I'd go to the grocery store and I would go down every aisle and pick out stuff, right, and come out with a big thing of food. Now, I go down maybe 2 aisles and then around the edge, and that's it. So shopping's super fast. I end up with a lot less food when I'm done, but Americans eat 75% too much food, which you then have to spend money on, and then you get too fat, and then you have to go spend money on the gym to counteract what you just overate. So the whole goal is really to just buy really healthy food and a hell of a lot less of it. And you'll notice, like my friend, they were going out of town, they gave me all these fruits and vegetables and all these greens and stuff, and they're all going to go bad because in 2 weeks I barely ate anything, right? Because if you get rid of all the processed stuff, all the food addiction, food becomes really simple. It's not that, there's not temptations and stuff, but honestly, it really becomes very, very simple. But it takes a while to get to that place, right? So we talked about high fructose corn syrup. You guys know. We'll probably end. We'll end on this one on Dr. Pepper, and then next week we'll talk about the rest of the drinks, and then we'll start talking about some foods. Again, things that are like, yeah, you should feel awful if you do these things. So artificial colors in the sodas, of course, are from cancer-causing coal tar. The caramel color that's in that, and it's in Coke, it's in lots of products. Is it burnt sugar? Is it burnt wheat? Is it burnt other grains? Or is it coal tar? Well, they don't tell you. So, California lists caramel color as a cancer-causing chemical. It creates an impurity called 4-methyl, what was that? Limidazole? Limidazole? Anyways, that chemical causes cancer. So, it's a derivative that's also kind of in there because of the way that they make it. And if it's made from sugar, it's genetically modified sugar. You can also make it from ammonia sulfite, which sulfites are going to cause you to have headaches and all kinds of problems. And then the ammonia is horribly toxic. And of course, coal tar is the other way that we can make caramel color. And that, of course, cancer-causing coal tar. The last thing is natural flavors. The hell is natural flavors? So, it can be some coal tar in there, plus natural. The FDA has no official definition for natural. So, petroleum is natural. Huh? Usually, it has to be some type of food or animal part. Animal or plant derivative. But what they do with that plant or animal derivative is a big question. So you can have MSG, monosodium glutamate, which causes instant brain cell death the minute it crosses the blood-brain barrier and makes us dumb and shrinks our brain. Decreases brain neuron growth, so we can't learn very well and we become dumb. PEG, which is antifreeze, which is the only real bad ingredient in the new vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna. But of course, some people are sensitive and can die from that. Some people can get rashes from it. Some people can have all kinds of problems. Because apparently drinking antifreeze isn't good for you because it's derived from petroleum. And then BHT can be in there, and we talked about that, is paint thinner. Toluene is paint thinner. Go to the hardware store, get yourself some toluene, put it in your food and drinks, and it'll never go bad. Well, wait. Caveat here. If you put paint thinner in your kids' food, you go to jail. If a company does it, higher stock prices. And then, of course, benzene, which we said since 1935, we know causes leukemia and lymphoma, lots of childhood cancers, of course, adult cancers. And then we take benzene, which is the flammable part of gasoline that explodes, and we make lots and lots and lots of derivatives from that. Everything from styrofoam to plastic to hair dye, all the way down the line. And, of course, there's other solvents that are in there. So, we'll stop there. Next week, we'll talk a little bit about dairy and why you should be sick if you drink dairy. Again, it'll be a very different perspective than what you're expecting, unless you've been my patient before. We'll talk about diet soda and what's worse than regular soda, right? It's just like way worse. And then we'll talk about energy drinks a little bit. And oh my God, we're struggling with this with my daughter. She has some anxiety. She wants to drink energy drinks. She's all excited because her friends drink energy drinks. And I'm like, you should have anxiety, and you're not buying that shit in my house. So I can't control what you do at your mom's house, but you can't drink that shit in my house. And holy crap, they walk to the store, so I'm all excited. They're walking outside during the daytime in the sun and fresh air, and they come back with an energy drink. And I lost my shit, so. And they were the ones like, oh, don't vape because like 2 people died. Well, 35 people died from energy drinks. Well, that's because Dad. So, like, no. So we all have to go through these struggles. Just know, as we talk about this stuff, like I'm way over here now with what I know and what I applied, but I was still the dad who grew up on Hamburger Helper and fast food, right? Mac and cheese. I was the dad that started out from the medical side of feeding my kid fish sticks and mac and cheese and corn on the cob and being like, God dang, Dad, you're like a good dad. That's got protein. It's got starches. Like, I'm a good dad. To now knowing what I know of being like, holy crap. I have to stop doing this, right? But practice over perfection. You know, you can only do what you can do with what you know at the time, right? So it's okay. It's always how can we be, what's the next best thing kind of people. So, Elise says how to watch my older videos. Okay, so I'm going to hire someone to put those videos, download them from Facebook and put them on the YouTube channel in categories. Not quite tech savvy enough to do that or have enough time to do that myself. So, Elise, right now, if you go to my Facebook page and you go to other and then you go to videos, any video that's about an hour long is one of his shows. They're not labeled, but they're all really good and funny. But I'm going to work on this spring getting those all on the YouTube channel. And you'll see a pretty big transition of me pre-divorce and after divorce, and like my it's a night and day difference as a person here. So it's interesting looking at the old ones, and I'm just like, oh my God, I look so awful there, you know. But everything's progress. Everything's a continuum, you know. All right, so Jody asks, freeze the fruit and more durable vegetables, lettuce stuff in the glass jars. Yeah, vacuum seal. And that's a really good deal too, is if you buy more fruits and vegetables and greens and they're starting to go bad, chop them up, put them in the freezer for smoothies, right? Ashley says, what do you tell athletes? So her son's 14, 6'1". You're making giants. 195 pounds. He's just a big boy, right? So what's the question on that? I used to teach anatomy and physiology at Tabor, and it was almost the whole class was a bunch of athletes. And their coach were like, you got a carb load, lots of pizza and nachos and soda and all kinds of crap. And I'm like, do you realize you'd be faster more agile, have less injuries if you change what you eat. The biggest, strongest animals on earth just eat fruits and vegetables and salad. That's it. A gorilla is 6 times stronger than a human. Half his diet is vegetables and fruits, the other half is greens. But a brontosaurus was a vegetarian. So the whole concept, like when we go through when we talk about food as medicine, we have to undo a lot of gimmick teaching, and the kind of nonsense that we do to sell food, but the concepts actually make you sicker. So, so I guess 2 food rules here: eat real, actual food, and only eat enough to get rid of hunger. That's it. Electrolytes, drink your water, eat real food. That's it. Eat an orange, eat some organic cutie oranges, and drink a bunch of water, and you'll be more effective than those brain dead, nerve destroying kids that are drinking all the Gatorades. So, all right. I hope you guys enjoy this. We're a little over time, which is okay. I like that we had lots of good conversation on this one. So, for you to share this video with other people too. I really appreciate that. This is episode 192. Getting close to our 200 mark. Thank you guys for joining. Love you guys. I appreciate that. 5 years later, people still watch this show. So, all right. Next week, we're going to talk more on this stuff. And we're going to take kind of our lives back and our health back. And, again, as you start to look at other people and listen to them talk and look how they eat and drink, start to think, should this happen? Should they have diabetes? Should they have cancer? Should they have heart disease? Should they feel awful? Should they have anxiety? Should they have depression? If you can answer the should they, it becomes very clear how to be healthier and happier and more balanced, and how to be sick, fat, and dumb in a population that's the sickest, fattest, dumbest, most anxious, most depressed in the world. So, this is not your destiny. And it's not, I like my favorite little quote that I have is, health and wellness is not a war that can be won or lost. It's a constant dialogue between you and your diet and lifestyle. Things that you have control over. All right. So, boxing. Bye, you guys.